Hello, this is Pete, or Kenshin1913, along with
Mom.
And this is another Cooking with Kenshin1913. What are we making today?
Chinese chews, which is a bar cookie. Okay, so we're going to make Chinese chews. And the ingredients are pretty simple, straightforward. And they are a bar cookie, so we're going to cook them all in everything in one pan, and then cut them when they're done. So we're using granulated sugar, flour, chopped nuts. This happens to be walnuts. And we've got a couple of nuts that we haven't chopped. Eggs, dates, baking powder, and vanilla. Now, if you're allergic to nuts, you could make this recipe, just omit any kind of nut. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to beat up our eggs. And then we're going to add our sugar to that.
So, Ma, big question here. Why are they called Chinese chews?
No one knows.
No one knows. I looked this up on the internet, and I could not find anything either.
And it's not just our family who makes these. Yeah. I've run into a lot of people. Matter of fact, we just had a cookie swap not too long ago, and there was a lady that ended up having, she ended up bringing Chinese chews as her cookie to swap. And I said, oh my God, I know these cookies. You know, where'd you get the recipe? She says, I got it a long time ago. She goes, from an elderly lady that I knew. She said, they're called Chinese chews. I said, I know. And I said, did you happen to find out where the name came from? She said, no, no one seems to know. So we're going to whisk our eggs together. And we're going to add our sugar. And mix it. Now you can decrease the amount when we give the exact amount. You can actually decrease your sugar a little bit, because dates are pretty sweet in themselves. So sometimes you don't need quite as much.
Alright. Yep, we got ourselves, this is a bar cookie, like she said. You could use if you got a mixer, you can do it, but Mom decided to go old-fashioned.
Yep, and you can double the recipe. We're using a 9x9 square pan. You can actually make it in a 13x9 pan if you want, but you'd have to double the recipe.
Right.
So the next thing I'm going to do is our flour. I'm going to add our baking powder to it.
We're going to add 1 teaspoon.
Oh dear. My spoons all fell apart. 1 teaspoon.
1/4 teaspoon of salt.
Yep, so it's pretty easy. Pretty easy.
Yeah, bar cookies aren't too bad to make. They're usually, there's other bar cookies like we made a long time ago. They're called peanut butter and jelly bars. Those are also bar cookies. Those are fun. You just throw everything together and you throw it in the oven. You don't got to worry about making individual little things, because you worry about that when you get it out.
So I'm going to add my vanilla actually to my egg mixture. And that's a teaspoon of vanilla.
Yeah, all the ingredients will be in the video description.
I just love anything with vanilla.
Yeah.
My God, that smell is yummy. So I'm just going to mix this up, the salt and the baking powder. And we're going to gradually add this and mix it.
Yeah, no milk, no butter.
Mm-mm.
This is fairly dairy free, except for obviously eggs.
Yeah.
gotta mix it all together, and then that's when you can add your stuff. So I'm thinking maybe Chinese chews were named that because maybe people back in the day didn't know any better and they thought Chinese people eat dates. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. So Ma, can you substitute the walnuts with anything?
If you're allergic to walnuts or you know, other kinds of nuts, I guess you could. If you're not allergic to something like almonds or pecans or a hazelnut, I guess you could. Brazil nuts, you could add that instead of walnuts. I've never tried it, but I don't see why you couldn't. Now, if you don't add the dates, then there's no reason to make this particular dish.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, I bought the dates. They're chopped up dates, and they're a little bit sugar coated on them. So we're going to use a cup in this recipe. This is a half a cup. So, and if you want more, you can. I guess you could actually maybe do this with raisins as well.
Yeah, I'm not particularly fond of Chinese chews, probably because I don't like dates.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of the pecans either, although I've been, you know, ever since Nolan's, not too bad.
Okay, so actually I got my spatula. I want to mix all this together. And then we're going to also get a cup of the chopped nuts.
Now, I don't know how much I chopped, but I chopped a decent amount.
Yeah, no, this is a little bit, I had gotten a little bit extra.
Yeah. And if you had more, put more. Sure, if you like the nuts, why not, right?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, this is pretty simple. And as you can see, my mom, it's a tough dough once it starts getting settled, you know? So you really got to get everything incorporated as quick as possible. And yeah, we have a
grease 9x9
pan here. We're just going to throw it in and put it in the oven at 350 degrees for 40 minutes. So yeah, let's just show you. And my mom, now you're going to pat this down or anything?
You're going to spread it around.
Spread it around. Obviously grease the pan.
You could actually put parchment paper on the bottom too if you'd like.
Yeah.
So it might be easier to get it out of the pan.
Right. And yeah, this is a recipe my mom's been making a long time. I know usually we make it for Christmas. This time we're making it a little past New Year's.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with making holiday cookies after the holiday is over.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just hard to get everything done during the holiday season.
Yeah,
and you can make these anytime.
Yeah. This is
they're not a traditional holiday cookie.
Yeah. Eat them whenever. I know. Probably a lot of people probably got themselves the New Year's resolution. They're losing some weight. You don't want to start off with some sweets. Well, save this for later. Yeah, you just want to spread it around, and then you're gonna throw it in the oven. And what will it come out looking like? Golden brown?
A golden brown. Nice. And then usually you cut them kind of like in a 2x2 you know, square.
Yeah.
And then they're you shake them in confectionery sugar.
That's the fun part. Alright, so we're going to throw these in the oven and let them bake for 40 minutes, and we'll be back.
And if anyone finds out the history behind these, please pass it along.
Yeah, we would love to know why it's called Chinese chews. I've looked it up, and I honestly can't find anything.
Okay, so that's it. That's pretty even. Okay, so we took the Chinese chews out of the oven a little bit ago. Excuse me. And what we're going to do is hopefully it's going to come out. You could cut them in the pan as well. And I let it cool down enough so that we can actually work with them because you can't burn your fingers.
Yeah, so at this point, they've cooled down considerably.
And
although you might want to keep them a little warm, because the thing about it is you gotta put them in this bag here. Like the last step is you're gonna put them in a little paper bag full of them.
So here's what they're gonna look like, okay? And always getting that one cookie out first of any cut is a pain in the neck. So
yeah, now after you get the bar out, you want to cut them in about,
it's about a 2 by 2.
Little squares. Big enough that they're a little bit bigger than a bite size.
And cutting them with a serrated knife works much better. Oh, this one I'm going to eat the end.
So yeah, now
corners.
after you cut them, what do we do with them?
Okay, so now what we're going to do is I have a paper bag, and I'm going to put some confectionery sugar in the bag, and we're going to shake them.
Yeah, kind of similar to if you watched our video a while ago about iguan, the angel wings or whatever that, or fingers or whatever, we usually call them liar cookies.
So we're going to put a couple in at a time, no more than 3. And then fold it over. And we're going to take them out and see they're covered with confectionery sugar. So we want to make sure all the sides are coated.
Right.
We've got a couple in a bag. We're shaking them up good. And then we're going to plate them.
Now, Mom, what could these be stored in after you're done making?
Usually I put them in either a plastic container or a tin container. And what you're going to do is make sure that it's airtight.
Right. And how long do you need?
Oh, these last about a week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, how.
Unless you eat them quicker.
Yeah. Now I have to. They're going pretty quick. So we're gonna come back and we'll eat them. So yeah, here's our Chinese chews, covered in the powdered sugar.
See?
And you know what? Mom's gonna have one. I don't like them. I don't like dates. Sorry, but yeah, it's another one of those. Hey, you've been eating a Chinese chew, haven't you? Because you can have powdered sugar all over yourself. So what is it? What has it got in there? What does it taste
Delicious.
like? You got the crunchy from the nuts, right? Is the dates chewy or what?
They're soft.
Yeah. There you go.
Chewy.
Yeah. Chinese chews. There you go. And I'm sure you can make a whatever chew if you want. And put in whatever you want. Start with the basic thing. Throw in a nut. Throw in a fruit. And boom, bang, boom. You have a whatever chew. This is Chinese Chew. I've been Kenshin1913. Along with
Mom.
And this has been another Cooking with Kenshin1913.
Enjoying happy eating.